Little boxes on the hillside, little boxes made of ticky-tack. Little boxes on the hillside, little boxes all the same. There's a green one and a pink one and a blue one and a yellow one. They're all made out of ticky-tacky. They all look just the same. And the people in the houses all went to the university, where they were put in boxes and they came out all the same. And there's doctors and there's lawyers and business executives, and they're all made out of ticky-tacky. They all look just the same. And they all play on the golf course and drink their martinis dry. They all have pretty children. The children go to school, and the children go to summer camp, and then to the university, where they are put in boxes. They come out all the same. And the boys go into business and marry and raise a family in boxes made of ticky-tacky. They all look just the same. There's a green one and a pink one and a blue one and a yellow one. They're all made out of ticky-tacky. They all look just the same.
Hello and welcome everybody to another edition of Talking Electricity with LCKing. I'm your host, Good Times for All, or Zachary Zabala if you prefer, and I am joined once again, as always, by my co-host, Mr. LCKing. Lucas, how you doing, man?
Good, mate. Pleasure to be here, as always.
So how's the weather doing on the outer realm today?
It's still pretty cool, but it's a nice day. So, yeah.
I can't complain. It got up in the 40s again today, which is probably like 4 or 5 degrees for you, but for here that's not bad. Well, I don't know about for here, but for me, I'm used to it being colder. So I think I found my area. I tried Colorado, I tried the desert, I tried Florida. Nope, I think the South Kakalaki area here, the Carolina Mountains it's home.
The happy medium, yep.
Yep, perfect. I think I found it. So we got a cool show today. We've been talking about the Searle generator with each other all week. What are your thoughts on this thing?
Well, truthfully, I still don't understand it, but it's super interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it's one of these technologies that they have kind of swept under the rug. You know?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So, it's from what did you say? It was 1950s he was working on this. So it's been around for a long time.
He actually had it working and could control it in the 50s. Yeah, 1956. He had some amazing stuff going on where they were having German news show this on television, and the BBC did a big article on this. It wasn't hidden at the time, but most people have a memory span of a goldfish nowadays, it seems.
Yep, swept under the rug. So we're getting it out from under that rug and brushing it off and having a look at it.
Yeah, and like so many of these great minds that have invented these amazing technologies and advancements for us, they ran him through the ringer, and he did end up going to prison for stealing electricity from the electric company, when really he was just making his own.
And that's just exactly the same as the Geet, the guy that Paul Pantone, the guy that created the Geet, and he was thrown into prison as well. So it's sort of similar story.
Yeah, it's almost like they're warning people about this, you know, like don't do this. It's crazy that they've been able to pull it off for so long. But there are a lot of people out there playing with this, just like they're out there playing with that Geet engine. This technology is out. With the internet now and us being able to share this kind of stuff, the tinkerers around the world are uniting, you know, and they're like, hey, I can build that. That doesn't look that hard. I can do that. And yeah, it's happening. At least to help spread the awareness of these capabilities. Now, to actually apply it in a big, large scale thing, you're going to need a lot of money backing that. You're going to need good governments for this stuff to come out, you know, for the people type of governments. So
yeah, well, that's right. And unless people can figure out how to do it on the cheap at home and things like that. So, you know, we just will wait and see, and hopefully all these tinkerers get together and put their minds to work and, you know, show us all how it's done in a sense.
Well, yeah. Well, we've got some videos for you guys today that there are some people putting, you know, not just brain power into this, but there's some people spending ungodly amounts of money on trying to recreate this technology to the point that John Searle had it. Now, like so many other technologies that we've seen, you could build this at your house and get it to work to some extent. Now, not using the same materials that he used. You know, we learned about this last week with batteries. Batteries, you know, you can use different types of materials and it'll, like the thermogalvanic effect, you know, you use different materials, different amounts of electricity flow through it. So just like that, different materials giving different amounts, the different materials you use in this will give you different amounts. And sadly, John Searle did not share that. He took that with him. He spent 12 million pounds back in the 60s, or maybe it was the 50s.
Yeah, or maybe he couldn't exactly tell what it was about as well. So
yeah, that too.
It's probably more the point.
Yeah, he didn't even comprehend it. I mean, when he invented the first one of these, he was only 14 years old, folks. 14 years old. And he had no idea what was going on. When he turned it on and it flew up and nearly destroyed the ceiling, he was like, well, why did it do that? That's dumb. What's going on here? You know, it's like so many of the great technologies and inventions, it was on accident. Yeah, that's tinkerers figuring stuff out. So before we get started, like every week, I'd like to play you all a short little, just 1 minute video. It is my favorite teacher that I've never met, Professor Walter Lewin of MIT. He taught there for 4 decades, and just the way he teaches, he makes physics fun. I would not comprehend things the way I do about electricity and magnetism and the world around me if it wasn't for this man. He shows you in his lectures. He doesn't just tell you, but he actually shows you with demonstrations. And I think that's such a big part of comprehending things, is seeing it with your own eyes. And he does that, or at least he did that until he got ran out of MIT. For, I think, teaching too much truth, really. I think that was the main thing. But anyway, yeah, it's a sad story. Another one of those sad stories where, you know, I don't know. But here he is anyway, Professor Walter Lewin. You can find all of his lectures from MIT, a whole year's worth of lectures for free, an MIT physics degree for free here on YouTube. So go check out his channel, Dr. Walter Lewin, Making Physics Fun, I think is what he calls it. But yeah, go check him out.
Electricity and magnetism is all around us. We have electric lights, electric clocks, We have microphones, calculators, televisions, VCRs, radio, computers. Light itself is an electromagnetic phenomenon, as radio waves are. The colors of the rainbow in the blue sky are there because of electricity, and I will teach you about that in this course. Cars, planes, trains can only run because of electricity. Horses need electricity because muscle contractions require electricity. Your nerve system is driven by electricity. Atoms, molecules, all chemical reactions exist because of electricity. You could not see without electricity. Your heart would not beat without electricity. And you could not even think without electricity, though I realize that even with electricity, some of you may have a problem with that.
If you only know the name, you know nothing, folks. Such very wise words from that man. So yes, today's show. Before we get into the Searle generator, I found a neat video. A few weeks ago, we were talking about grabbing electricity out of the air. And we showed, some minor tinkerers doing it, a corporation that was doing it, grabbing large amounts. And I found this other corporation here. And what they do is they apply the Tesla technology, but the way they do it is on a much smaller scale. They put it like the Wardenclyffe Tower that Tesla built, the big giant one that was going to be amplifying all this electricity out to people. Well, instead of doing that, they put small little boxes all around your house. And you can just go and set your phone down on the counter and it'll start charging. Yeah, you got to check this out. This is so cool. And this was from The Economist here on YouTube. 1.76 million subscribers. And it's a company that's doing this. You'll see here, they'll give you the name of it. And all the videos will be in the description down below. But yeah, check out what this guy says right here.
Idea to send wireless power around the globe.
We love electricity so much. Human beings love it so much that we've been willing to put in wired power everywhere. I'm sure if you go back to Tesla's time, he wanted to do things wirelessly and experimented with it because he thought, who would be crazy enough to put in the trillions of dollars of infrastructure that we've put in?
More than a century after Tesla's tower, we're still tethered to the wall. Witricity, a startup in Watertown, Massachusetts, is one of several companies hoping to revive Tesla's dream, and it's doing so by developing a business in wireless power transfer.
There's power everywhere in the world except that last few feet from the wall to the center of the room.
Okay, I'm going to scoot it ahead here a little bit. He goes into how it works, just like
It's called resonance.
the resonance
For the opera
where they
singer,
shatter a
when
wine
the
glass.
frequency of the sound wave matches the unique resonance.
It like connects. Once it hits that certain frequency, there's a connection between the wine glass and the speaker, and boom, it shatters. Well, it's kind of the same technology that they're applying here. They're saying they'll create a resonance here, and then you have all these other smaller ones set around your house that are connected to a bigger one, and then your devices, depending on what frequency they are, will run off of those devices. It's just really neat. And this guy is talking about doing it with just radio frequencies from radio towers.
So kind of anywhere in the city of Seattle, you'd expect to be able to get up to, 100 microwatts.
Compared to solar, of course, solar is a really good energy harvesting source, but it's only available for 12 hours a day. TV is always there.
TV towers have been broadcasting about the same amount of energy or power for decades. But what's changed recently is that the power requirements of the smallest devices have gotten low enough that you can actually power them off a TV tower now.
Josh Smith says wireless.
Now he's not talking about completely being able to power things totally right now. He's more or less talking about a part of your phone, a small battery could keep charge, not even enough to make a phone call, but enough to hit the 911 button and send that signal to 911 to let you know, at least know where you're at. That's where the technology is at right now. But he's saying, within a decade or so, who knows where the technology is going to go. That people will be charging all kinds of things just from the radio, the energy that the radio frequency towers are putting off into the air, and television towers. He's talking about being able to charge clocks. Like a electric clock will never run out anymore with this technology. As long as the radios and television frequencies are running in the air, your clock should never run out. Stuff like that. So this technology is there. It's being applied right now.
It sort of seems like coming full circle from, the research of the older stuff, and they seem to have had it before whatever event happened, and then, so it's good to see it, coming back at least.
Yeah, it's very small increments, very small steps. A lot of these places are just small little businesses. Nobody like GE is trying to do this. If they jumped on board, I'm sure it could happen a lot quicker. But,
yeah, definitely.
Hey, all right. Well, we are joined by one Mr. Bob Knodel, Glowbusters. How you doing, Bob?
Hey, Zach. How you doing? Can you hear me okay?
Yep, sounding good.
This is
Hey,
crazy. Bob. Hey, how you doing, Lucas?
Good, mate.
I was trying to join the stream and from the computer in the bedroom, and it kept saying that it didn't see a microphone, and so I changed headsets and everything. It kept saying it didn't see a microphone, so finally I just had to get on my laptop. But weirdness, now everything's fine. Got gremlins in the house, I think.
The gnomes are messing with us.
Yeah, no kidding. But that's cool. So, I didn't catch too much. Did you do the overview of this already? Because I have to confess, it's been a while since I've looked at the Searle disk. Other than I know some really interesting things that happened with it, when he was testing it, about how they lost quite a few of them. Actually, they would fire into like overdrive and then just disappear.
Yeah, he could not control these things.
Yeah,
I actually put together it's a 14-minute video. I took that hour and 50-minute documentary. The link is in the description, folks. It's a really great documentary. It's really well done. You could tell it's not done by some just random YouTuber. If it was just a YouTuber, they put a lot of time and money and effort into it. But I picked out just 14 minutes of little snippets of just the parts I thought were important about his history and about how he got funding to start this stuff when he was young. And then I cut it off. The whole last hour of the documentary, you got to go watch for yourself. It's just great. It's all about, why we don't have one of these in our houses right now today. It explains, what he was put through.
Yeah, well, I think we know the reason for that. Zach, I don't know if you saw the documentary I sent to you in Skype this morning. Did you see that? The Big Eureka, Joseph Newman's free energy machine.
Yeah, I was looking into that. We might be doing that one here real soon.
Yeah, that is, it's very clear really what's going on when you see stuff like that, because he literally had a member of Congress go forth for him. He let the patent office, pick an attorney with engineering experience, to determine whether or not he should be granted a patent. The patents office own attorney said, yes, he should be granted a patent. And they still didn't do it. And it turned out, they finally pinned the guy later on, and they just said, well, it came down from inside, So basically the guy that was in charge of the patent office, who was obviously, I'm sure getting pressure from somebody, just denied the patent because obviously of what it would have meant. But when you see what Joseph Newman went through, I mean, it was verified by every engineer. I mean, by several engineers at several universities, several of the electrical engineers that work for the broadcast companies, CBS, ABC, NBC. He was on the Tonight Show. And like I said, they even had a member of Congress go to bat for him. And this was back in the 80s, right? So apparently they didn't, they hadn't bought off everybody by then. and so, yeah, they actually had a congressman go through and go to bat for him and pass a bill. And I mean, through all that, and everybody saying, yes, it absolutely 100% works. You should grant this. It still got denied. And then it finally got to the point, unfortunately, where Joseph Newman kind of lost his mind. I watched another documentary that had come out last year. In fact, I think it was last year. And it was kind of an extension on Big Eureka. And he had just become so bitter and, violent and angry. And I mean, he kind of looked like he was off his rocker, honestly. But, they literally drove him to, being crazy because they weren't about to grant that. And of course, it would have ruined the oil industry, right? It's exactly what happened with Tesla, with JP Morgan, right? Mm-hmm. So the same thing happened with Searle, and it has happened probably to countless people. But, that's just a game you don't play unless, well, it's just a game you don't play. That's not for us. And to think that anybody would ever let that happen is right up there with saying that, yeah, they would let a flat earther go to Antarctica to prove that there's an edge. It just isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
So what was that device that he created? Or what did it do?
It was called the Big Eureka machine. And basically what it was a huge motor. It was a perpetual motion type thing. But the thing that was amazing about it is he could take like a row of 9-volt batteries and he could power up this generator, which required 400 amps at 443 phase, right? Which is an enormous amount of power, absolutely enormous amount of power. And he could power it right off of a bank of 9-volt batteries. And we could actually pop up, some of that. Yeah, there it is. You could actually pop up some of that. And this is him in his older years, but this documentary is absolutely, fantastic. Now there is another one, Zach, if you go into YouTube and say Big Eureka, there's one that came out in 2020, and that's the one, it's a little more professionally done, but unfortunately it shows him losing his freaking mind, which was really, really sad. What he went through. So let's see, it was an hour and like 20 minutes or something like that. It's called Newman. That's what it's called. It's called Newman. I think you passed it. Go back up a little bit more. Right there.
Oh, right here. Yeah. It's actually a YouTube movie.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And that's the one that
probably smear him pretty good, huh?
Well, it's not bad, at first, but you go through and you get to the end and it's like, man, of course, can you blame the guy? He spent hundreds of thousands of dollars. He ultimately went bankrupt, right? He lost his house. He lost everything. And, even when he got to a point, and this is the part where I think it was kind of meant to make him look bad. He had somebody that was going to, try and help him put it in like air conditioning devices, right? And be able to air condition for free. And it shows him losing his mind and he goes crazy and says, yeah, you're just making me crazy and you're nuts. And it's just sad. It really is what that poor guy had to go through. But this has got to be one of the most well-documented cases in history ever of a free energy device and what they went through to get a patent on it, and it never was issued.
Do you think that some of these guys, because John Hutchinson comes to mind as far as somebody who figured out something, and just from all the people, I don't even know if it was, the government's harassing him or this or that so much as other people wanting to know. John Hutchinson, if you haven't heard of the Hutchinson effect, go look into that. We might cover that one of these days. But he is on YouTube. At least he was up to a couple years ago. I used to be a subscriber, and I mean, he'd answered quite a few of my, comments. I watched him pretty much every day. He was putting out videos, but then he started dressing in drag and calling himself Carla Knipton.
Carla Knipton?
Yeah, and started acting like he was insane. And I think it was to keep people away from him.
Yeah, you have to wonder, did he do that, or was he being like targeted or something? It's so sad that these people do that. But, you know, like I said, when you're threatening a multi-billion, if not trillion-dollar oil industry, you know, I don't care who you have going to bat for you. You're not going to get through the red tape.
Well, you're tackling the power structure itself, the very foundations of it. So, yeah, there's, you know, a high cost there, I guess.
Yeah, there is, you know, and it's just the way they keep the world going around, I suppose. Pun
But
intended.
hey, they did actually build these machines, you know, and there are people replicating them so that it got out there. It didn't get out there the way they wanted, but they,
not only are they out there, but they've been out there for a long, long time. You know, they talk about I'm sure you guys have heard of the Japanese Foo Fighters, right? That they encountered back in World War II.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
And, you know, these were, whatever they were things that appeared to be able to defy gravity and you know, do all kinds of weird stuff. And then I've talked several times where I've seen when we lived in Denver, and we'd be sitting out in our hot tub in the backyard, and we'd see these triangular craft fly over the top of us with kind of red, green, and blue lights in them, and they would just come out of nowhere. They'd be just above us, maybe 100 feet, and then disappear, just bam, just like that, at incredible acceleration. So there is no doubt in my mind that these technologies are, you know, alive and well and in use today, but, you know, it's just not a matter of public knowledge. But, you know, they are going to be, one thing I will say is it does look like one of the latest bills that they just passed. I can't remember which one it was, but one of the writers on that bill was to introduce us to the fact that aliens are real, right? So they're going to be releasing and declassifying all this alien, you know, information that the government has, and, you know, talking about that. And, you know, I think we know where that's probably going to wind up going, but it's crazy. What a soap opera we live in.
I know.
Yeah,
you can't write this stuff, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, but somebody is.
yeah, definitely someone is.
Yep. So, but it is amazing. And, you know, the thing is the technology itself is simple. It involves, you know, a few different principles, and I've talked about this several times. You know, one of them is, you know, magnetic polarization, rotation. That's always been a huge key is the rotation, and timing. So, you know, all of these circuits and all these craft and all these things that were designed this way, up to and including the Coral Castle, right? You know, how a lot of that stuff was put together down there.
Yep.
You know, the machine for that same type of technology.
Spinning magnets.
Yeah, spinning magnets.
And the right frequency, just using the right frequency, or, you know, a cumulative effect of the frequencies.
Mm-hmm. But, and there are people that have built them, and I'm sure there are people that are out there using them, you know. And if you build it for yourself and just use it for yourself, I don't think you're going to catch a lot of flack. But if you try to take that bad boy to market, watch out.
Yeah. Yeah, even making one for the wrong person that just talks too much could get you in trouble with this kind of stuff, probably.
Yeah, exactly. You know, like if you were, you know, like if I figured it out or something like that and hooked it up to the power, and I was selling the power company $5,000 a month worth of power, I think they'd probably figure that out and want to go wonder why, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just something, you know, if it's done modestly, I'm sure you could get away with it, you know, but the second you try and go big on it, it's over.
Oh yeah. Well, all righty. Well, I've never done this before. I guess if you guys want me to stop at any time, just yell out and I'll stop this. But I just had it's about 14 minutes long.
Oh, you're going to play the video. Excellent. Good. Because I haven't seen it in a while.
Yeah, we'll get a quick up, you know, an like a refresher course on it, if you will.
Okay, cool.
And it'll just yeah, I wanted to show everybody his history, and then we can get into people actually applying it today. I have a few videos to show on that as well.
Awesome.
All righty. So sit back, folks. This is going to be about 14 minutes. I hope you enjoy it.
We don't have any sound, Zach. I think you forgot to share it with sound.
Oh, crap. The sound won't share on this. Well, that stinks.
You might have to share the entire screen to get it to. Oh, crap. That may be a problem, huh?
Yeah, I didn't put it into YouTube. I should have made a video on YouTube first.
Oh, I thought you had put this on YouTube.
No, I just made this. This is the one I just made today.
Oh, crap. Well, God, there's got to be a way to do that. If you've tried to share things like with sound, share the whole screen with sound and try it, and will it let you do it?
Yeah, it
or
didn't.
Does it grayed out?
It didn't give me the option to share it with sound because it's not one of the Chrome tabs.
Well, right. That's why if you share the whole screen, not a tab, but a whole screen.
Share entire screen.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that should give you the option to.
Yeah, there we go.
All right. Did that let you select it?
Yes. Thank you, Bob.
Let's see if that works. Yeah, that worked.
You're the man, Bobo.
His deafness is the result of beatings and neglect suffered as a child. But the isolation would serve his purpose. Perhaps this physical limitation accounts for his freedom of thinking. He could think laterally and not be bound by conventional rules taught through conventional methods that may have an adverse effect on the human mind. In his quiet universe, his experience would have a different effect, an unusual effect, a natural effect, the Searle effect. On his own, and without any real formal education, John Searle is possessed by an insatiable curiosity that would lead him to conclude that nothing is impossible except that which the state of your mind makes it so. John Searle is known all over the world as the inventor of the Searle effect generator, a magnetic device consisting of one or more rings, also called plates, and a number of cylindrical rollers that, when in motion, generate electricity.
The generator is a magnetic device that is totally magnetic. It is its own prime mover. It will self-start and continue to run, and as far as we know, we could say never stop.
The Searle effect is an effect based on magnetic fields that generate the continual motion of magnetized rollers around magnetized.
All right, real quick, folks. I just wanted you to see that. Did you see there's no motor on the inside of this one? He just started that with his hand there. And that's what is making those move. Usually there's a little motor on the inside here that spins up and will get it to start moving. This time he just starts it with his hand and it just takes off and starts going. Watch this.
Fields that generate.
First stop.
The Searle effect is an effect based on magnetic fields that generate the continual motion of magnetized rollers around magnetized rings, producing electric energy.
The generator runs in harmony with nature. The law of the squares is harmony with nature.
No noise, no heat, no vibration, no pollution. The Searle effect generator. The perfect machine.
As you build this, and you find out that it runs without friction, it runs without a governor, it will accept any load and meet it. It will dive down in temperature at one point if you build it correctly and actually levitate and actually lift off the earth, developing its own gravitational field. When you see all these things and you realize that this is a perfect machine. It is an entity. It's the closest thing to a living thing that man can make.
The Searle effect is developed from the law of the squares, and it is from these squares that John Searle developed his generator and flying discs.
You can take a square, you run the numbers in normal, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that is uniform in. But when you token them up, each row, each column, each diagonal, you'll find they add up different. Putting numbers in random, we come up with a uniform output. Every line, every column, the two diagonals come out precisely the same.
Random numbers in squares will produce a uniform total. John Searle would soon call this the law of the squares, nature's way of achieving order from chaos. This led to Searle's revelation and gave meaning to his recurring nightmare.
Here is the story of how to do it mathematically. And of course, the dream was telling me everything I wanted to know, but I had to find those answers. I had to relate what the dream was saying to what I was trying to do. So it's a slow, tedious job. And of course, I got the sums wrong on a number of occasions on the start.
From those numbers, John Searle had the exact amount of each ingredient in the rollers and rings of his generator.
Now, every one square represents a quantity of a material. And that's very important. This is precisely how I developed the SEG. So I copy nature in every way. I work at trying to think how nature's doing it.
First model that was built by John Searle at the age of 14 and a half, after receiving some inspirational dreams, was assembled on a kitchen table with his landlady's permission. And he put it together and then started to load it as a generator. So let's put a light on it. Let's put a cooker on it. Let's put an iron on it. Let's see what it'll hold and how much it'll do before it bogs down, heats up, and burns up.
Of course, that was a bad thing to do indoors. They should always do experiments outside, as I discovered.
Well, as he increased the load, at a certain point, the temperature at that time mysteriously dropped down to close to 4 Kelvin, which is almost absolute zero. And when it did that, it became superconductive, developed its own gravitational field, we found later, and hit the ceiling.
And it was on the ceiling. And I said to the landlady, I said, that's a stupid thing. What's it doing up there? She said to me, you told me nothing would happen. And it had cracked the plaster, because they plaster ceilings. It could crack it hit really with force, and it was holding that.
Carrying all of the wiring and the cookers and the irons behind it, dangling down.
So I, stupid enough, allowed to go on it and grab it, and then I couldn't let go of it.
And as a result, his hands froze to the framework. So the landlady put a screwdriver in to stop it. And luckily it didn't shatter it. And then get his hands off of it. And that was the first experience of it levitating.
To make his generator work, John Searle had to overcome many problems. Most of these occurred with the shape and design of his magnets and in the behavior of their magnetic fields. How can you make a round magnet orbit another round magnet without stopping or flying off? He studied the behavior of a bar magnet and a round magnet.
There's something wrong with this. It's got a turning action on it. It tormented me. That must be to go straight. If the dream's saying, slice the roller into 8 segments, now it will keep straight. Well, I did this, I placed it on, and it kept straight. And not only did it keep straight, it really moved up and down. What happens if you make a ring?
He knew magnetic fields could be impressed or printed on certain materials using a magnetizer, a device common to shops and factories that use magnets, such as British rewinds.
The question that the scientist is, why, when C was on, they just run round and round? The picture here was there was 2 states involved here. And of course there is.
The 2 states referred to the 2 magnetic fields printed at right angles to each other. Both the roller and the plate had independent magnetic fields, one vertical and the other radial from the center to the rim.
Clearly, the magnetic field was completely different to the magnetic fields we knew of. For some reason, why they were different, at the time, I had no idea.
The intersection of these two fields produces a wave that carries the roller around the ring, although this wave was unknown at the time the phenomenon was present.
So we got fields at right angles. That's why the whole thing moves. If you haven't got two fields, it won't move.
He boarded at the home of George Haynes, a terminal cancer patient in the West Midlands.
He was a very highly religious person. He was dying of cancer, and he said he wouldn't die in hospital, he'd want to go home. Every night I went up to his bed at 8 o'clock to listen to him telling me about the Bible and that, and then he'd ask me what my interest was, and I told him about this. He said, John, if you can make people look up in the sky, he said, because they're always walking with their heads down, I will pay the cost of doing it. So he called his son up and said, on Wednesday, take John down to Wednesbury to the government sales, market sales of government equipment. Get everything he wants.
Here came the first real opportunity to build his generator as a flying disc and observe the phenomenon.
So we got the shed, cables, and all the sort of bits and pieces one needs to do some experimenting. And eventually we made the first 3-footer. We fired it up, and of course it sort of hovered there of some yards above the treetops. Radio sets always switches on in the area. And then it shot off, and the radio sets went dead again. So I went up to the room and I said to him, sorry, we've lost it. Did the people look up? I should think so. Make another one.
From his deathbed, George Haynes Sr. financed the earliest experiments on the flying disc generator. Searle tried to keep the 3-foot disc from shooting off into space.
I said to him, I cannot control it. Oh, don't worry, sir. Make the people look up. We did, all right. There was no ifs or buts about that point. Though I tried different ideas each time to try to overcome this lifting effect, I never won. 6
flying discs were built, and all 6 were lost.
I was at the headquarters of the Ministry Electricity Board. I had 11 different subunits around to look after it. Because I started talking in my spare time about this effort. And of course everyone was laughing at me. One day the boss heard all of the news. He come into me and he said, John, you're here as a member in charge of 11 areas. Men under you are laughing at you. Now, we have 3 options. A, pack your bags and go. B, shut up. C, do it. So I thought on it a minute and I said, well, I like my job, so I don't want to go. B, I can't shut up. C, I'll do it. So I said, well, what do you want? I said, we want a press, argon oven, magnetite. All right, we got all that here. What else do you want? I said, ingredients. Well, you tell us the ingredients, we'll get them.
With this opportunity, John Searle's knowledge of electricity and magnetism grew to a point where he began to theorize the startling behavior of his generator. One such theory in magnetism met with stiff resistance and would help to form the genesis of mockery and ridicule that follows him to this day.
My magnetism is not your magnetism.
Could it be that general magnetism contains multiple bands, a magnetic spectrum, exactly the same as white light contains a spectrum of colors?
Magnetism is identical to light. In a way, that's how I look at it. They're identical, they're pairs.
He christened it Gyro Flywheel High Energy Density Mechanical Magnetic Device, but it would soon be known as the Levity Disc.
And the first successful one was launched in 1956. It went up, we flew it across the houses, because Crompton Hill, we're up above the houses. It's a wonderful sight, you should go there. And we flew this over the rooftops, and then we had a surprise. You see, we saw the tiles waving as it went along, and the din it made it in the middle of the night was absolutely fantastic. And the reason is, of course, there's a suction underneath this. It's in a wave, the suction is. And it pulls these tiles up and down. Some fall to the ground, obviously. But what we also found is that when pigeons or birds flew near to it, or they were taken by surprise and they got caught, they'd fell to the ground. And of course, they hit the ground and break their necks. So you saw in the papers, birds died from UFO, and made it quite clear to them it was not a UFO. The government knows. It's identified. They know what it is. Every government knows what it is. They've known it for years. I said, so we're dealing with something in reality.
By 1956, the first team of investors agreed to fund John Searle and the research on his levity disk. This group of 13 pensioners assembled as a club called Launch Unit Navigable Individually Controllable, or Lunic Enterprises.
And we toyed with this down in Westminster, where we built these, what was labeled UFOs. We call them levity discs, but we built this. Now, 13 old age men backed that project, and they only backed me on the following condition, that I did not go commercial with this. They didn't want any problems with taxman. They were doing this for fun. But to me, that was all right. It was giving me a chance to experiment, work out ideas.
Alrighty, folks, and that's the end of it. That's all I'm going to give you.
Wow, that was awesome.
Yeah,
That's
well
very
done,
cool.
Jack. Yeah, well done, mate.
That was just 15 minutes of the hour and 45-minute broadcast there.
Yeah, and it's the same story over and over and over again. And even, you look at some of the modern day perpetual motion machines that, of course, every single one of them gets poo-pooed on, right? If somebody comes out and shows a demo of it, well, you've got your army of trolls saying, oh, it doesn't work, this is a hoax. And granted, I'll admit that there are definitely hoaxes out there, but I think some of these are the real deal. And I think it'd be cool. Well, for example, Zach, this may sound crazy, but Big Eureka, Joseph Newman's machine, I actually, several years ago when I first found it, I found a set of plans for it and parts and working schematics and all that stuff. And I always thought that'd be cool one of these days to just try and build one.
Heck yeah, I'm down.
I know. Just I wish I knew a machinist that was good at that, because that's pretty much what you need, is somebody that can do the machining and that kind of handiwork. But other than that, we can get the magnets. They're commercially available now. We can get them in all the different strengths. So it's just machining the flywheels and stuff like that. And I think something like that could be put together fairly easily.
Yeah, heck yeah. I'm down, Bob. Let's do it.
Yeah. That'd be quite the fun project. So, yeah, but it all goes back to the timing, the timing of the circuit. So basically what's happening is you're just simply making the timing so that you make things that have stored up kinetic energy to release that energy just at the time, that one part of the ring is going around, right? So it kind of pushes it around. And Walter Lewin has actually done demonstrations of stuff like that too. It's a principle and a concept that's very easily demonstrated and has been, but again, it gets into this really, crazy timing sequence, and you have to understand the perfect timing sequence, the alternation of the magnetic polarities, and Searle said something about his law of squares, right? Well, there's another one too that Randy Newman, and I'm trying to remember who Randy Newman worked for, the guy. Oh gosh. That came up with, everything going to 1 through 9. God, what was that guy's name? John somebody. You guys remember who I'm talking about? That Randy Newman worked with? Chat, anybody? Yeah, if anybody in the chat knows. But anyway, so basically it comes to this 369 numbering thing that is key in the sequence. And once you have that in there, then the timing is just a matter of setting it up mechanically to be able to switch to that. God, who the heck was it? Randy Newman and...
That's very interesting because, yeah, I've been, playing around with some of the mathematics and things like that, and you nearly always end up at that sort of sequence, or that 369 is fundamental at the base of numbers as well. So it's really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is interesting because base 10, well, base 10 is special in a lot of ways, but so are all the other numbering systems. Because, you think about it, and if your typical computer uses binary at the most basic level, right? Base 2. But then for the command sequencing, it uses octal and hex, base 8 and base 16. And for input, it's using primarily base 10, right? So it's just crazy, all these different numbering systems that you can, do a lot of the same stuff with.
There's definitely some harmonics that flow through all those, all those different ways of calculating numbers as well, though. So, and I think that's what the 369 is sort of pointing to, that harmonic that sits in there.
Well, yeah, Searle found it with his law of squares. There's all these different, it's like different types of math or different types of measuring units almost. You can still get all these same link ups, like pi is universal, whether you're talking about inches or you're talking about centimeters. Pi is pi. There's always going to be these key points, these linking points.
Yeah, and what you'll find with the old measuring systems, whether it's rod, league, or miles, well, they all link up together. It's just a sort of like a harmonic of each other. So it is actually built into these different measuring systems. They're all based on the same thing. So yeah, that's very interesting too. But the harmonic stuff is similar to, someone pushing someone on a swing. You just at the end, you do the timing right, and you're going to get a bigger swing. So it's this engine seems to be similar. It's hitting at the right time, and it has no friction, so it's just going to keep going.
Yep.
Yeah, it's that's the key part. There is no parts that are actually touching in this generator. It's really, we're going to get into that right now and show you how it works. I found this video. This is just like the basic concept of, we really don't even need, actually, I'm going to shout out the channel real quick. I don't think he did a whole bunch on the Searle generator. I went into his channel. I think this was the only one on his channel that he did. But LeBlanc Engineering 2. Yeah, and this is an older one. This is about 5 years old now. But it just kind of shows the, let me mute it up, the effect that's going on. All he has here, he has a magnet, cylinder magnet inside of this copper tube right here. Then he has a copper plate down here with a magnet right underneath it. So it's copper on copper, so the magnets don't touch and hold on to each other. But once he starts spinning up this, see this top one here is hooked to this little motor. And he's going to start spinning this thing. And when you see what happens, it's amazing. Let me get it. Okay. Oh, and he's showing the weight. It wants to, it'll hold it down, the weight itself. See, when he pushes down here, it still always goes this way. So the balance is this way. Were you going to say something there, Bob?
Yeah, I was going to say that it's Marco Roden and Randy Powell. And we actually had Randy Powell on a Globebusters episode a while back, and he was talking about this numbering sequence 369. And what was cool about it is he had just done a TED Talk where he did a demonstration where he was able to affect these crazy magnetic effects on this TED Talk, and I'm actually trying to find it now. So I'll see if we can find it and then maybe play that. But it's super interesting. This stuff is all tied together. So everybody that goes down this road realizes that it's an acute sense of timing and magnetic polarity synchronization, and that is the key. Combined with rotation, that is the key to so-called anti-gravity.
Yeah, Searle
I
was saying
remember
the timing is everything. Sorry, Lucas.
I remember the Rodin coils, looking at that, and that's actually showed you the Daniel Nunes sort of stuff, and with the one-stop energies. So you can show that coil as well, which is a sort of a different version of the Rodin coil, but he actually wires it in a toroid, and so he's done a fair few experiments with that, and showing that it's creating wireless transfer and doing some very interesting things as well, and increasing efficiencies. And that's just by running wires in a certain schematic, so in that toroid framework. So we can show that a bit later too.
Yep, and I found the video, the TED video, where he spins a ball in a jar from across the room using this type of, he's actually able to project this field out and affect objects across the room. This was freaking awesome.
Yeah, those coils definitely, they give out huge amounts of what do you call it, the EMF or something?
Yeah, lots of huge field EMF. And of course, as we have found out, or at least as we're hypothesizing, the etheric field, the so-called gravitational field, and the electrostatic field are just different modalities of the ether. And this stuff is on two of it. And of course, isn't it interesting what they're calling anti-gravity, right? The anti-gravitic effect is not anything that we're dealing with as far as any new mysterious force, right? Like gravity, but it's just a manipulation of a higher end electrostatic and electromagnetic force, right?
Exactly. Yep.
So, whatever you want to call it, gravity, for whatever reason, these biases exist, and they are manipulated by these devices, the Marco or the Rodin coil, and a lot of Tesla stuff, the Joseph Newman machine, all of these things, the Searle disk, all of them do the exact same thing.
Yeah, it's all electricity, magnetism, and vortex.
Yep. It is astounding.
You'll see here it's spinning kind of slow, so it's bouncing off the plate as it's spinning. He's going to go over here and he's going to turn it up now, the speed, and you can see how it leveled out. He has it pegged out at 13 volts, and it's repulsing. It's spinning so fast, the magnet in there and this magnet, that they're actually pushing away from each other now, and they no longer want to be attracted to each other. This is the whole idea around the Searle generator. This is why the Searle generator has no touching parts. The magnets just float around in between the two rings. Once they get going, they come off the surface, and they're just flying around there, not touching anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing.
Yep. So we basically have all of the little ingredients, that everybody's put together. And, I honestly wonder how many people have built these things in their, in their home, or are using it on a small corporate basis. In fact, there was one guy, gosh, what the heck was it we were looking at? It was like a few months ago, Zach, where they were demonstrating the over unity of these power machines. And remember, it was based on a large rotating magnet. Do you remember that? That was several months, 2-3 months ago. We were looking at that.
I'm not sure. No,
I'll have to find it, but
we look at so much stuff like that.
I know, and it's all related. And that's what we need to do is like do another one of these shows, except this time let's pull all this stuff together and let's look at the similarities between all of them.
Yeah,
and let's just see if we can't figure it out.
That'd be really good. Yeah, to show all these different people doing the same thing and then just applying it in different ways. But yeah, that'd be amazing to see.
Now, Searle never shared what he used to do this stuff. Like if you watch his that documentary, he spent $12 million figuring out how to make the first one, using what materials, what sizes, this and that. This is how some of the people that are trying to recreate this, some of the things they're using. This gentleman right here, he has 20 some odd videos, Mr. Delphin, of him himself working on building this thing. It's amazing the stuff that this guy has built. You can tell all this stuff is machined specially for this stuff. It's you'll have to check out his channel.
Mm-hmm.
But this is just, the materials that this guy's using. Not necessarily the ones that Searle used, like we were talking about earlier. Depending on what types of material.
Too.
Yeah. Copper, Teflon,
A little bit of plastic, Lexan maybe, something that's tough. Yeah.
But yeah, like we were saying earlier, different things, different materials will produce different amounts, of electricity to allow them to flow through them. So a lot of these people are using certain things and they're getting good results. They're getting it to where it will be an over unity machine, but they can't get it to fly. They just, it's like not having just the right ingredients to bake your cake. You're never going to get it just right if you don't have the right ingredients. You can get something close to cake, but it'll never be that nice, perfect angel food cake with real fluffy and this and that. So until people figure out Searle's ingredients, matching his results are going to be very difficult.
That's true. But, like I said, I don't think that I think that all of that stuff is there because, like I said, I've got the working plans supposedly for a Newman machine. And I was just thinking, so if we manage to build one of these things, here's the real question. Do you think you could keep your mouth shut about it?
I doubt it.
Nah.
Not me.
Yeah, it would be difficult. Of course, then you're just asking for a knock at your door then, right?
Yeah. So that was the first video I wanted to show you with this guy. And then that was his video number 1, part 1. His next one, well, I went to skip to 12. I wanted to show you kind of what the magnetic pattern of the Searle looks like. This is the same guy, Mr. Delphin, part 12. This is about a year and a half old. And you set up the rollers and look at this pattern that it leaves. It's because he's got multiple magnets on the inside. It's not just one long magnet, cylinder magnet, but he has a bunch of circular magnets in there.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
yeah,
that's interesting.
And then the circle, he does the same thing to that. You have to have that magnetic pattern there.
So as it moves, it creates its own sine wave.
Yeah, and that's why it stays right there.
Wow, that's cool.
It never moves off of that sine wave. That's what keeps it in the middle. It never comes flying up or down. It always stays right there on the track. It's like a railroad track almost.
And those sine waves are sort of meshing together. Yep.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I just wanted to show everybody that there's so much that goes into this. This was, the thousands and thousands of hours probably. A lifetime of work.
And like I said, you got to be a pretty decent machinist too.
Yeah, look at how beautiful this stuff is.
The guy's good, whoever's doing this.
Yeah. But he figures stuff out. He gets this thing. Go check out some of his later videos. I mean, he gets this thing spinning real fast. I don't think he does it in this one. But if you go to like his video, it looks like he does spin it up. Look at this. They are moving. And I think he throws even a tachometer on there at one point. 15,000 RPMs.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And those things are just freely hanging. I would hate to at 15,000 RPMs. I wouldn't want one of those bad boys coming off of there.
Yeah, no doubt. But
Yeah.
he
Put a cage around it.
this is what's going on in the
Yeah.
inside. And then the ones out there, and I think he even in the later models builds it even bigger. But
Yeah, how much further does this actually go? How much further does it document it? Because it seems like just when you get to the good part of the documentation, that's about where it ends. Then they don't want to give you too much, you know?
Well, he does. Let's see. Where's his? I'll go into this real quick. I think he goes up to part 24 here, and he gives you his final. So it looks like almost all of his videos he started about a year ago are on this Searle generator. And the last one was 11 months ago. And let's see if he's just kind of showing the same stuff. I know he hooks the, in one of these, he hooks an electric voltmeter up to it, and he's showing you that it's outputting more than he's putting into it.
Right.
Which is the basic, is what you're looking for. I'm not sure where it might be here. Yeah, he's got all the different, you would be able to understand all this stuff.
Oh, I'm sure you would be too. It's,
Yeah.
I mean, we're dealing with very, very basic electronics here. You know, this people looking at
that's going
this
in, and this is coming out. 15.7 volts going in, 17 volts coming out.
Okay, and of course, what matters is the current delivery capability. You know, because again, power P in watts equals I times E, or current in amps times voltage in volts. So, you know, you have, what was it, 14 volts or 13 volts, 17 volts? I can't see that.
I think that says 15.7 going in and 17.3 coming out the max.
Right. But yeah, then you got to put a load on it and figure out what the power capability is. If that's even, you know, I would assume that would be the ultimate goal of this. You know, how much power do these things ultimately put out? And they did say on the Searle, right, that as it required more power, it spun up faster, but it also seemed to get colder and colder and colder until it levitated. It's like, oh, righty then. So yeah, that really makes me anxious to really want to go test that damn magnet, you know, the drop test, because I really, really think that we're going to see some astounding stuff there. This all goes back to ether modality.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting how he put a load on it, and then it actually increased by that, which usually I'd think the opposite, wouldn't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Now this guy right here, he this is John Kimball. This was coming up on almost 4 years ago, 3.5 years ago, Segmental 101, John Searle prototype. And he talks about, I think he has this hooked up to a battery, and he's actually charging the battery from this machine. Let's see what he has to say here.
Get down here, check this out. So we're drawing 1 amp on the positive lead, and we're returning to the battery 1.1. So it's basically sending back an extra 10 milliamps to the battery. Right? So it's actually generating through the negative lead. It's putting more power back into the negative than it's pulling out.
Does that make sense to you, Bob?
Stuff in school.
Probably would if I would have been listening. I was writing down a formula. I would just post it in chat. You know, just showing the calculation to calculate power, or one of the ways. But I'm sorry, Jezak, I missed what he said.
Yeah, no worries. Here you go. I'll play it again real quick.
You can play it again.
Get down here, check this out. So we're drawing 1 amp on the positive lead, and we're returning to the battery 1.1. So it's basically sending back an extra 10 milliamps to the battery. Right? So it's
that would be 100
legitimate?
milliamps. His math is horrific, but
Yeah.
I understand what he's saying.
But is that true, the way he measured it and everything?
Well,
Does that make
he's
sense to you?
using what's called an amp clamp, and those things are notoriously erroneous, and especially they're not bad if you have them free from other fields, but when you have an amp clamp around an open magnetic field like that, I wouldn't trust it for a second. Now, I'm not saying that what he's doing is not legitimate, but I think that's a horrible way. He should just put an ammeter in line with it instead of using the amp clamp.
Yeah. This is one of the ones I wanted to show people, is more of your in the garage, not machined, just, rigging it up. This is a tinkerer, pretty much. Your basic backwoods tinkerer right here.
Yeah. Oh, and those are the people that come up with some of the most amazing stuff. Is this what's his name? The guy that oh crap, who is it that likes him? They make the other model. The other guys. Shit, crap. It's kind of a I'll think of it. Cammy knows who it is, I know. But anyway, they like an electrician that does stuff like this all the time. In fact, who is it? I'll recognize it. John Kimball?
Yeah, John Kimball.
Oh, okay, that's not him. I'm sorry, my bad.
Yeah, no worries. And then I wanted to show you guys one more video, just of some people that have put in some serious funding into building their Searle generator. This does not look like your backwoods, tinkerer right here.
That's elaborate.
Yeah, look at this. Look at the things it has holding it down.
Wow.
Just in case. This is Roshan and Godin. You said
Saw them
Godin
fly off.
earlier.
I was Rodin.
Oh,
yeah,
Rodin.
we said Rodin. Okay. Yeah, Marco Rodin.
But yeah, I just wanted to show this.
So they got a framework for the actual the rollers as well. So
shocks over here, absorbers. Look at this thing. But people don't go and put this kind of money into technology that they haven't somewhat tested or have seen, or this is some serious funding it took to put all this together right here.
And that's moving too, for how big it is.
It's only a minute long or 50 seconds long. They don't really get into this. They don't show it anymore in any of their videos. They did have one of the best playlists that I saw for the professor. Just somebody who had actually, put together a really good SEG playlist. It says 134 videos, but there's quite a few that are taken away. But they have quite a few of them that are the interviews of John Searle himself in here, if you want to go check him out. And people who have, worked on this same kind of stuff. But yeah, this is great. I think this is actually some of the stuff, the video that I pulled from is in here. But yeah, it's a good playlist. It's in the description. It's got a lot of stuff in here, just a lot of videos.
Yeah, that's cool. And I may do this for a Globebusters. Just kind of put all these technologies together and look at them. I think that would make a good Globebuster show, I think. Of course, it'd be a good show here either way, but I think it'd be kind of cool to do, because it is amazing how many of these free energy, technologies have come out. And, like I said, when you guys watch, and Lucas, I don't think I dropped that link for you, but I will drop the link for you that I gave to Zach for the Big Eureka machine. Have you seen that by any chance yet?
No. Send it through to me. I'd love to have a look. Okay,
I'm going to put it in the chat for everybody so that they can see this. because it is straight up amazing, and it just blows me away what this guy went through. Whoops.
Have you either of you guys ever heard of Louis Rossmann? Rossmann?
No.
There was a question from GeoShifter in chat.
I've
Nope.
heard the name before, but I'm not sure. Not sure who. God, who is it? Who is it, Geo? Tell us about it.
Yeah, I've never heard of them. There's so many people I've never heard of. I've noticed as I've started doing this with Lucas here, there's been quite a few names that people have brought up to me, and I still need to go back and really dig into them a little bit more. I've taken little glances at them, but I've been hearing all kinds of names of these people that have come up with just amazing, amazing tech. There's so much that I know that I still have never heard of. I guarantee it.
Yeah, exactly. The Truth Channel. Here it is. I found it. Yay. All right, and I know I gave you this one, so let's copy the video URL and let me put it in here. You guys still there with me?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
So I'm putting it in the YouTube chat for everybody. There it is, and that is the link. But that, like I said, will absolutely blow your mind. Now, if you do search for the one afterwards that they came out, that's the one I wound up. Well, I sent that to you originally, and then I didn't want you to see that one, not first. Zach, I saw that one, and its video quality is better as far as a lot of the video shots, but it's also the one where he really was clearly starting to lose his mind. It was just sad.
Yeah, those suck.
Yeah.
Geo said he does MacBook motherboard repairs. His YouTube channel is pretty popular because he does other kinds of videos sometimes too, but nothing over Unity related.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, we have another, well, I don't know if he's a flat earther anymore, Richard, who used to do Tesla's Apple, who used to do Mac phones repair and stuff, but nothing over Unity. I'm not sure if he went back to being a baller or not.
Yeah, I don't know. And then this, have you ever heard of the caduceus coil, Bob?
Yeah, I have.
The Smith coil or the tensor coil? Yeah, Lucas just shared this with me today, and we just wanted to throw it out there into the ether.
Well, that's probably what it does, is manipulates the ether. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that same sort of ideas, but it's just the wiring, how the wires go, similar to that caduceus staff of Mercury. So there's some interesting sort of results there. You probably chuck that in the chat as well, I suppose.
Yeah, I think I already put it in there, or not in the chat. I'll throw it in there.
Okay, and then also I'm going to repost not the Joseph Newman, but the Randy Powell one, or the Marco Rodin one, or the Randy Powell when he did the TED Talk. There, I just put that in there. You guys want to check that out too, because these are all absolutely positively related to each other, and it all comes down to something as simple as this. And isn't it amazing? What a job they've been able to do is keeping this concealed, because really, when you think about it and understand the principle of how it works, it's really quite simple. It's just a matter of timing and matching power and getting the synchronization right, and just allowing the magnetism's properties to work for you. And bada bing.
Yeah, again, you're sort of applying the Hermetic principles. So the principle of polarity, the principle, those sort of things. So it's all there.
Yeah, it is.
I also
cool.
sent you the link for that Daniel Nunez, his YouTube channel. I just put that in chat, so you might.
That guy was cool. That Daniel Nunez.
Yeah, so he does a different Rodin coil style, but it's worth looking at as well. He was actually able to play music through it, which was pretty interesting.
Oh, private chat. Okay, there we go. I'm still not used to using the private chat yet. All right, I have it. Daniel Nunez. Oh, that's like Rodrigo Ferrari Nunez, sort of. That's pretty cool. So yeah, this is neat, Zach. But I think we definitely need to put all these together and kind of look at them side by side, because this is just really neat stuff. And I'm sure, even if people don't figure it out, it's just interesting to look at. And I think really the simplicity of it, it's going to be, I think, really apparent to a lot of people, and obvious to some, apparent to others, and maybe not so obvious to others. But I just think it's going to be cool to look at this.
Yeah, it never gets old. And it seems like every time you learn something new, you go back and look at this stuff, and it makes just that little bit more sense now. You picked up another piece to where you can, fit it in and comprehend. This I don't comprehend fully, not even close. Like why it gets so cold. Yeah, there's so much about it that's a mystery. That's the greatest part about it.
And that's why it would be interesting to, put these next to each other so you can actually see the similarities. And then, if they're doing something very similar, you might be able to, and they've put it in a different way, you might be actually able to pick out why it's doing it. So they get a better idea of the overall mechanisms behind it.
Yep, absolutely. So yeah, I noticed you put out a call if anybody wants to join the panel. Zach put a link in there, so feel free to join us and ask any questions, or not.
We'll stick around for a few minutes if no one joins. No big deal. Appreciate you all hanging out with us, talking about this stuff. Even if you don't share this show, go share a show about this. The documentary, it's great. It's a good one for children to watch. It's very well done. It's PG rated. It does talk about him as a child. He was beaten by his mother. And he doesn't remember any of it, but he's seen documentation that he was neglected horribly and was left deaf from his neglect. Now, it's somebody wrote it down on a piece of paper. Who knows what the real story is? He says he doesn't remember it, but that's like the worst part of the whole story. Besides them, running him through the ringer when he was older and throwing him in prison.
Yeah. So GeoShifter says, I remember a video of a guy that made solar panels with some liquid inside that boils at low temperatures. I have been searching for it a few times and never found the video anymore. The panels created a lot of output of heat with very little sun. You know what, Geo? I've seen that video too. I know exactly which one you're talking about, and I will have to see if I can't find that while I'm kind of searching through these, because that would be an interesting one to throw into the mix.
We had those back in the 90s at my house, except they weren't heated by solar panels. We just had them hooked up to electricity, but my stepdad put them in because they were so energy efficient. They really cut down on the cost, and it was just like a long thing that went along the base of the wall, and it was maybe 8 inches tall and stuck out about 3 inches, and it had this gel in there that once it got heated up, it stayed heated for a very long time. So it held the heat in right there, and yeah, they worked great. They saved us a lot of money.
Well, I remember reading about a guy that was doing something similar. He was collecting the heat of the sun to actually create a refrigerator. So he was sort of using that thermogalvanic principle. Yeah, that was a while ago. I read about that.
Yep, very cool. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just looking for something really quick.
Yeah, I'm throwing the caduceus coil into the description, folks, for you. It's an interesting read. It really is. I really like to do some more research on it. I never like just looking at one page. And I've learned I don't ever go and look at the naysayers. I don't know why. I don't.
I think, here's the thing. If there's a whole bunch of them, that are piling down on somebody, I think that's a really good clue that he's probably over the target. And we know that, right? If you're taking all the flack, you're probably right over the target. But there are some out there that are blatantly phony, right? And it's just, you just have to leave it up to your own discernment. And
Yeah, the little ones made of wood where they put a magnet on this side and a magnet on that side, and they say that there's a motor running in between them with like nothing. It's like, no, I'm not believing that. There's a little thing underneath that's just spinning around, and there's a wire connected on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many of those out there, so many of them, but people have not dedicated their lives, to one of those little things, because people can see it's a sham.
Exactly.
These gentlemen, just like Tesla, dedicate their whole lives to these ideas that they have.
And they get the attention of, and the other thing is they get the attention of the big boys. So, there's something there.
Yep. Oh yeah, Tesla worked for Edison. This guy worked, or had 13 gentlemen dressed in black, come in, fund him, but he couldn't ever, commercialize it because they wanted to avoid the tax man. Yeah, right. They are the tax man.
Yeah, no kidding.
But yeah, it's a good documentary. I advise, everybody watch it, even with your children. It's that good. It's a really neat story about UFOs and where they came from, and how all the government, like he said, all the governments know what they are. They had identification numbers for these things. It was a P class because they were considered probes. They were unmanned.
Mm-hmm.
He said, they had the P and then an identification. If you watch the whole thing, he gets into it a lot more. I didn't want to make it too long because this was, a live thing that we were doing. I didn't want it to just be a 45-minute long video where we didn't talk much. But yeah, it's great. I pulled out, even out of the first 45 minutes, I pulled out some really neat stuff and didn't show you. So yeah, very, very good documentary if you want to learn about this generator a little bit more.
Now, what would be interesting is if we could, I don't know if this would work or not. I was just wondering if there might be a way to influence the viscosity of things. Well, you know how a density tower works, right? Mm-hmm. And I was just thinking, well, we use the density tower to show the density gradient, to either prove or disprove this thing we're calling gravity. But I was just wondering if there was a way maybe that we could encase that in a field that would cause some sort of a universal shift in the density tower. I almost think that it wouldn't be possible because you're inside of that field, and a much more powerful one.
Yeah, it would have to be strong.
Yeah, but by the same token,
if you could make a nice teeny tiny density tower, you know what? That gives me an idea, Bob.
New experiment, huh?
Yep, that might work. I was thinking of doing other things kind of like that, but this might actually work because I could actually have a nice little small plastic something. Yeah, this could work possibly. All right, we're going to give this a go.
Oh, you're going to have to tell me what it is then.
Yeah. It'll be a small little plastic cylinder, and then I'll fill it up, with some oil, some water, some just different liquids, and get that density tower going. And then I'll reverse the electric field and see what happens.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. So that's what you are going to do then. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just interesting, and I would almost bet, like I said, that it's not going to do it. But, God, if there was just a way that we could manipulate the modality of the ether, well, I'm sure there is a way to do it, but the question is how.
Yeah.
This I think what they're doing with this, with the pulsing and the timing and everything, is more or less turning the field on and off that we're in. You know what I mean? And kind of activating and deactivating it, and turning up and down the intensity, if you will. But I don't know.
He goes into this documentary about how when he first could finally control it, he didn't have a way to steer it really. So he got a whole bunch of ham radio operators from all over the world
That's crazy.
And he would send them a signal and tell them to hit it when it was coming by to turn it. Like he would say, at this time it should be coming by and I want you to hit it with this frequency. And he would actually steer the device with radio frequencies, hitting it. Yeah.
What, did you just receive something and then it demodulated that as a navigation tone, or?
I don't know. I'm
Yeah, I
not
think
sure.
so.
Yeah. Then he figured out to put these big hammers around the outside edge of it because he couldn't steer it from the inside. That's what they were having problems from. So you have to actually hit it from the outside of the actual rotation to get it to deflect in another direction. You can't steer it from inside of it.
Do you have the video or something of this?
Yeah, this is all in that documentary.
They were
It's all
trying
in that
to.
one. Okay.
Yeah, they were triangulating it as well, weren't they? With those ham radios. Yeah.
Yeah, before they had all the other towers up to where, this could be done now a lot easier than he had to do it way back then. We've got the infrastructure all set up already. Maybe you wouldn't be able to fly it yourself, but they could definitely do like airplanes do and send it up in the air and say it's going there, and it went from England to Australia in a half an hour. Just to give you some idea of the speed.
That's screaming.
Yeah. And it was made of balsa wood. So it's not like it wasn't like titanium like the Blackbird or anything like that, some special high alloy, this or that. Nope, they made it out of balsa wood to show that this thing could withstand any type of forces. If you
That's
built
crazy. It's going hypersonic and it was made out of balsa?
Balsa wood. Yep.
Oh, now that's weird because that would almost seem like it had to have a field protecting it somehow.
Well, yeah, that's
what he was saying. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It has that whole field around it, and it just everything inside that field is fine. It's like
it was burning the grass as well. So until he sort of changed a few things, it was actually the field. He said it was lifting up the iron out of the ground or something and burning
That's crazy.
the grass.
Well, it's like that one you saw that it's on that same video that I have that you also put up, Zach, of the Lockheed engineer, Boyd Bushman.
Yeah.
On that video before Boyd Bushman came on, they showed that device where they took the was it scarab beetle wings, and they made a shutter device on it. And that's how they actually showed the device in action. Guy's flowing around. And he goes, yeah, you could go up to 1,000 miles an hour, and it just kept you safe. They just threw up a field around you.
God, that would be so cool.
That would be insane.
They can't let us do that. We would be able to all go investigate Antarctica on our lunch break.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah.
You could just go fly wherever you
now
want.
you know where they get all their ideas for the sci-fi. It's
yeah, crazy flat earthers.
Well, gentlemen, it doesn't look like anybody wants to come and join us, so I guess we'll wrap it up. Bob, again, thank you so much, man. It's awesome when you come on. Just your insight and your knowledge on all this stuff it's just invaluable. So thanks again, man. Appreciate it.
No problem. I appreciate you having me. Look forward
Bob.
to seeing
the
show.
It was great.
All right. Cool, Lucas. And it's good talking to you too, sir.
Yep. Lucas, as always, man, I appreciate it so much.
No worries, matey.
We'll have to figure out if you guys have any ideas for what you'd like us to discuss. I mean, we have a couple shows, kind of in the back burners. But if there's anything, that's kind of around the same realm as, free electricity or something like that, something that you guys have heard about and maybe we haven't, go ahead and drop it in the comment section below and we'll take a look and maybe that's what we'll do our video on next week. But one more time, I know some of you have got to be getting sick of this by now. I'm not. I'm sorry. Like I said, I'm going to play this until Lucas says, hey, dude, you got to stop. I can't take it.
I'm not sick of it. I'm not sick of it.
But this is Walter Lewin, former MIT physics professor of 4 decades, talking to his students about electricity and magnetism for the first time. You can go check out all of his lectures here on YouTube for free. So go on over there, just type in Walter Lewin and it'll pop up. Yeah, this is him and talking with such passion about what electricity and magnetism do. Here you go.
Electricity and magnetism is all around us. We have electric lights, electric clocks, we have microphones, calculators, television, VCRs, radio, computers. Light itself is an electromagnetic phenomenon, as radio waves are. The colors of the rainbow in the blue sky are there because of electricity, and I will teach you about that in this course. Cars, planes, trains can only run because of electricity. Horses need electricity because muscle contractions require electricity. Your nerve system is driven by electricity. Atoms, molecules, all chemical reactions exist because of electricity. You could not see without electricity. Your heart would not beat without electricity. And you could not even think without electricity, though I realize that even with electricity, some of you may have a problem with that.
All righty, folks. Well, that's going to wrap it up. This is Good Times for All here, signing out. As always, thanks for watching.
Little boxes on the hillside, little boxes made of ticky-tack. Little boxes on the hillside, little boxes all the same. There's a green one and a pink one and a blue one and a yellow one. They're all made out of ticky-tacky, they all look just the same. And the people in the houses all went to the university, where they were put in boxes and they came out all the same. And there's doctors and there's lawyers and business executives, and they're all made out of ticky-tacky, they all look just the same. And they all play on the golf course and drink their martinis dry. They all have pretty children. The children go to school, and the children go to summer camp, and then to the university, where they are put in boxes. They come out all the same. And the boys go into business and marry and raise a family in boxes made of ticky-tacky. They all look just the same. There's a green one and a pink one and a blue one and a yellow one. They're all made out of ticky-tacky. They all look just the same.